So, remember when I told you guys that Project OverTechnical was basically done? Well, I lied. Kinda. And in order to explain why, I am making this new devlog to go ahead and explain what changes have been made. And I will admit that what I said previously is not intentionally meant to be a lie to you guys. I know that's a weird way to put it, but you guys hopefully get what I mean. But I had to make some changes for balancing issues, and that's what the whole point of this video is. So welcome back to yet another Project OverTechnical devlog. So to get things started with this particular video, I want to address something very important, and I'm going to not name names because I don't know if the person in question is okay with me naming names, but I was talking to someone on a Discord server, and they told me that I should nerf both Mechanism and Applied Energetics 2, because otherwise you're going to reach a point to where Create takes a massive backseat and is more or less useless, and I have to agree with that. I do 100% agree with that sentiment. So the first change that I want to address is that AE2 is going to have to be made a lot more expensive, so it's a lot more endgame, so that you have to rely on the vanilla Create storage system, which makes a lot of sense. I have not done that yet. I'm not sure what recipes I want to change and what the recipes should in fact be, but that is going to be in the pipeline for this mod pack update. The other things that I had to nerf Mechanism hard, and there are some nerfs that I'm still trying to work out, and I'll explain that in just a moment. But the first thing is that I ended up removing the Mechanism Generators mod, because then that way you're actually required to use the Create alternators and generators and things like that to create power. So the steam engine is used to power these evaporations to create lithium. So yeah, that was just a test, by the way. It should be obvious. But yeah, that is one of the first changes that has been made. And because nuclear reactors from the Mechanism generators was removed, I decided to compensate by adding Create Nuclear, which I put all the way over here. I think you guys can probably guess why. I did also find a mod that adds massive nuclear explosions and radiation poisoning when this thing blows, because this does not add that by default, and I just broke that by accident, but that's beside the point. So yeah, that is a thing that I did discover, and I actually did some testing before recording this video. Mechanism radiation protection does not work, so you cannot use a Mechanism hazmat suit to protect you from the Create Nuclear explosion, which doesn't really make sense, but also does make sense. I know that's a little bit confusing, but the creator of that probably didn't take that into consideration, so that's why. I do not know if that's something I can fix. I probably cannot fix it, if I'm being honest. So I did leave a message on the GitHub to see if that can be patched. Can't make any promises because I have no control over that. But yeah, that is another change that I made. Another change that I did end up making, and this is actually half done, and I'm going to explain why, is that I ended up having to nerf some recipes from Mechanism specifically, and these are more or less half done for a very specific reason. So first off, the alloys from Mechanism and polonium pellets have been fully reworked, and there are going to be some extra recipes that are going to be reworked. I just have to figure out how to implement them, because that's what I'm having trouble with at the moment. But the infused alloy, if you're familiar with Mechanism, you're going to notice that the Mechanism recipe is gone, and that's intentional. But it is one-to-one with what is supposed to be in-base Mechanism. So basically what I did is I found a mod that lets me blacklist specific recipes, so that's why this is what it is. And you're going to notice they are more or less exactly the same as what they should be from Mechanism, just using Create recipes. And I had to make a completely brand new recipe for polonium pellets. And this one specifically, I went through the configs of the recipe itself. This is as long as it takes that it allows. So it is going to take around about 30 seconds. I haven't tested this recently, but I did end up testing it, and that's what I remember. I could be mistaken, but that's besides the point. But yeah, This is how you will now make polonium pellets. It uses fluorite dust, liquid uranium oxide, and water, and that's going to create your polonium pellet with superheated. And again, you probably saw this earlier. I know I didn't bring it up, but these are superheated as well. So there's that. And you may have noticed that I have some of these on here as well. The circuits, the sheets. These are also going to have their recipes replaced with create versions. And I'm having trouble figuring these out specifically. So that's going to be implemented later. Their mechanism recipes are not replaced yet. They're not removed yet because I still have some work to do. But I will explain exactly what's supposed to happen with them. And that's with this recipe right here. And I'll make it clear, this is not intentional to be added to the pack. I just added it to make sure that the recipe itself works. So I have the code ready to go. I just have to replace it with the specific recipe components and I'll be good to go. But I cannot get those to work, probably because the main thing I need is to make brand new items and implement those into the pack, and those I've been having trouble with. So I'm going to show you the recipe. Yeah, if you're a Create Mod veteran, this makes absolutely zero sense. But I had to test to see if the recipes that I plan to implement actively work, and this one does work, but this obviously makes no sense, like I said, and this will be removed later. But the proof of concept is there, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this really quickly. So if I get some iron sheets, and I get some iron nuggets. So I'll show you guys how this actually works. I think you guys probably can guess how this works. But if I do this, it's going to do this. And the first thing I will mention is, yeah, it does show the recipe sequence. It doesn't show the progress bar. Not sure how to implement that yet. But yeah, if I just let it go, it will eventually turn into an iron ingot, which is kind of the point. Obviously, again, test recipe, so not intentional. So that's going to be the recipe for all 5 of these, and that's going to include the steel sheet here, because that's going to also include a brand new item, which is going to be the basis for some other recipes as well. And I'll get to that real quick. So just keep in mind, this recipe is what the intentional recipe is going to be. This is what it's going to be. So you're going to take an osmium ingot. I might consider doing an osmium sheet or osmium plate, whichever it is. I'm not sure just yet. That would probably make the most sense. But this uses 20 millibuckets of redstone. 1 redstone dust gives 10 millibuckets. So that is going to be what's going to happen, is the osmium ingot, osmium sheet, not sure which yet, is going to have the redstone dust applied to it, press twice, cycle a second time with the second redstone dust, press twice again, create the control circuit. And then these are exactly the same recipe in that regard, just with different items. So you obviously get the point. HTPE sheet, there's going to be a completely brand new item which has not been implemented yet. And this is going to sound incredibly weird. I'm 100% aware of this, but the pellet is going to be compressed into a new item called the HTPE pellet, the compressed HTPE pellet, excuse me. This is going to sound weird. The texture is going to look like mashed potatoes. I know that sounds really ridiculous, but that's the point. But then it's going to follow the exact same recipe where one of those compressed pellets goes through the system, and you get the other 2 put down on it and compressed with the mechanism presses, or the mechanical presses, excuse me. My brain is fried, I do apologize, but that's how it's going to work. So that recipe is more or less going to glue them all together, and I still haven't figured out how to get those to work. The last one, these steel sheets, I'm going to have 3 of these, just like I have 3 of the compressed pellets, which obviously haven't been implemented yet. And this is going to create a heavy steel plate. And the reason why that's important is because I'm going to be completely replacing this recipe with the ingots becoming the heavy steel plates. And this is going to output double. And I realize that's going to mean technically 3 steel sheets and not 2. But I'm trying to balance things out here. Plus, if I did 3, times that amount, then the actual stacking is going to be a little bit offset. So that's why it's going to be doubled. And this is going to go for a small subset of items that uses the steel ingots. I know it's going to go ahead and do all the basic piping and stuff. There's going to be a few other things as well. I'm not going to list everything right now. I don't have the list listed right now. It's not pulled up, so that's partially why. But there are going to be some things in here. They're going to have the steel ingots replaced with the heavy steel plates, and it's going to output double of what it normally gives you. So I still need to work that out. I still need to implement the heavy steel plates as well. Haven't fully worked that out yet. My friend Chuckles is actually going to be working on the textures for me for that. Specifically, I have some placeholder textures at the moment which aren't loading for some reason. But yeah, the last change that I want to make, and I want to make it very clear that I'm going to be uploading a video on this later, but this is actually going to be voiced over by Chuckles himself, and I'm not going to spoil anything just yet, but I will say we are working on a custom-made menu, and he is going to be the voiceover for that video specifically. I don't know how long it's going to take for him to get that working. Buddy, if you're watching this video, which I'm sure you probably are, take your time, do not rush it. But yeah, that is going to be coming down in the pipeline later. It actually looks really cool, I can't even lie, and I've been helping him with some of that stuff as well, so yeah. As far as these particular sets of updates, that is all there is for right now, but that's not it, because if you guys are not familiar, I did finally end up releasing the beta test for you guys to play, so make sure to go ahead and go down to my Discord server. You can go ahead and sign up on the Discord server for the beta test. But yeah, that's all I have for right now. I do, however, need to go ahead and update the pack with this particular version. There's still stuff that needs to be worked on, obviously. But yeah, that's where I'm going to end things off. So hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure that like button. If you want more, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button for future content. But yeah, with that, I will see you guys later.